Hi, I'm Stuart. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Thanks for viewing my video. In this video, I'm going to do the Reading in the Dark tag. This is an original tag created by Kelly at Books I'm Not Reading. I was tagged by Kelly. I was also tagged by Suey at Suey's Book Banter. Per Kelly. Hello Booktube. I'm here today with the original tag for you. I was inspired by a power outage this last week, which I didn't think we would have power until about 10 p.m. Please feel free to do this tag or answer some of the questions in the comment section. If you don't feel comfortable leaving a comment, you can leave a Reading in the Dark emoji or give this video a thumbs up. I do appreciate it. Bonus Booktube prompts if you make your video in semi-darkness. And unfortunately I'm not going to make this one in semi-darkness. I run out of energy as the afternoon goes on, and by the time it's evening, I don't really have energy to record a video. There are 8 prompts in this tag. The first prompt is, did you ever read under the covers with a flashlight as a kid? If so, do you have any memorable books or experience? Please share them with us. I didn't do that. Reading was something that was always encouraged. Maybe beyond encouraged. It was just always something that, as long as I can remember, I can enjoy. My mother went to school to be a teacher. I think in English. She only taught for a year. That's probably a topic for another situation, but reading was always part of me, so there was no need to hide under the covers with a flashlight. I realize that that's not always the reason, but I just didn't have a need to do it. The second prompt is, do you read when you wake up in the middle of the night as an adult? Do you use your e-reader, booklight, light your nightstand, etc.? Please share any memorable books and their memorable experience. Yes, I do that pretty frequently. I suffer from insomnia, so sometimes I just lie there and try to go back to sleep, but it can be an hour or two. So I try to recognize when I'm just not going to go right back to sleep, and I read, generally for an hour plus. And what I read on is my Lenovo Nook tablet. With that tablet, I can read on all the various ebooks that I own. I can read Barnes & Noble, of course, but I can read Kindle books. I can read bookshop.org books. So, and I think there's some others too, but those are the major ones. I can read everything on my Lenovo Nook tablet, and it's lit too, so I guess the normal e-readers will be backlit too, but the Lenovo Nook tablet is what I read my books on. It's, as I said, I can have all my various books available on that one tablet. And as far as any memorable books and memorable experiences, there really isn't any. I've done this fairly often. There's nothing that stands out. What does stand out, though, is that when I'm reading in the evening, as it gets like 10:30, fairly often what happens is I will find my attention wavering. I won't be able to concentrate on what I'm reading. Eventually I put the book aside and I'll go to bed. But in the middle of the night when I'm doing it, that doesn't happen. I'm easily able to read an hour, sometimes more. Sometimes I have difficulty putting the book down. So that's kind of memorable and a little strange too. The third prompt is power outage. What have your reading experiences been when the lights won't turn on? The TV is dead, the computer is out. Do you read then? Share with us any memorable books or reading experience during a power outage. I do sometimes read in that situation. I will say, though, especially if it occurs in the winter, I get real nervous about that. If the power doesn't go on, if it stays off for several days, there's a good chance our pipes are going to freeze, and then it could be very expensive. They could, ice expanding could break the pipes and they could leak, and it could be very expensive. So I'm very nervous in that situation. The last one we had, a decent sized power outage, which I talked about multiple times, was February 2024, when branches hit our lines that caused a surge, fried our board on our boiler, so the boiler didn't work. Of course, didn't know that until we got the power restored, so it was a real bad situation. And I remember before we got a hotel room, my sister and myself got a hotel room because it was going to be really cold. The second day that the power was out, I was mostly making woobles. Could have maybe one wooble. I think it was multiple ones. I mostly did that. Instead of trying to read. I may well have read some, but I mostly remember making woobles. I don't recall any memorable books or reading experiences. As with question number 2, there's just been too many. Over the years, the power's been out. Now, if the power goes out during the summer, then that's a different story. I don't need to worry about the pipes freezing then. House could get really hot without air conditioning, but I don't have to worry about the pipes freezing. So then I'd be more likely to read. I'd be able to concentrate better. The 4th prompt is reading ignorance. Did you ever read a book because you realized you were completely in the dark about a particular subject or genre? What was the book or experiences like? No, I've read books that increase my knowledge. Lots of books. But I don't ever remember a book where I was completely in the dark about something and then I kind of maybe had like a eureka moment or something that I learned something that I totally knew nothing about. I just don't remember going into a book like that occurring. The 5th prompt is reading blindly. Do you ever read a novel without knowing anything about it? You haven't read the back of the book or any reviews, you just jump in, name a book and share your experience. In the last, say, year and a half, that's occurred many a time because I'm a member of several book clubs and I read whatever the selected book is. A lot of times I get to vote on it, so maybe if my book wins, I know something about it because I voted for it, but in those cases, I'm often going in completely blind. And because of that, there's multiple books I could say, but the one I'm going to mention is The Center by Aisha Manazir Siddiqui. That was a book that there was a woman, she was a immigrant from Pakistan to England. Her parents still lived in Pakistan. They were quite successful. Her job was translating Bollywood films, and wasn't really the kind of thing that caused her parents to think she was super successful. She became aware of an immersive language school that you could learn a language in around 3 weeks, and she decided to try to go there. She applied, she got accepted. I think the language she learned was German, but things got weird, and also there's commentary on being an immigrant. The book touched on a lot of topics, so it was a 5-star read for me. The 6th prompt is other dark places, camping, cars, basements, the movies. What are any other dark places you have read and maybe unexpectedly? Share any books and memorable reading experiences. Did go camping as a kid. I was in the Boy Scouts. I don't remember bringing books there. Possibly we brought our Boy Scout handbooks and maybe we referred to those, but I don't remember that. As far as the basement goes, besides just reading a bit of a book I happened to discover that I had down there, decide if I want to read it. I haven't like sat in the basement and read a book. As far as the movies, I wouldn't do that. I don't like to divide my attention. It upsets me when I'm at the movies when I see somebody, when I see the flash of light and I realize somebody's on their phone, and it's like, why aren't you enjoying the movie? But as far as cars go, I've gone to a lot of concerts and sporting events over my life. Not the past couple of years, but before that, lots of them. Sometimes several dozen between them in some years. And at some point, I just decided to bring a book with me, a physical book. This was before I had any e-readers or anything like that. They could have existed, but I'm not sure. And decided to bring a book with me, and I would just read it under, say, a street light or light in the garage or something, an overhead light, if it was after dark. Because what would happen is I like to get to events early to avoid the traffic. And after an event lets out, I like to let the traffic dissipate before I leave the garage or parking lot. And before reading, I would just guess, kind of watch people, I suppose. But at some point I decided to bring a book with me, and eventually when I got a reading light, I would read by that. And now if I did it, I would read on my phone. But lots of times I've read in garage and parking lots before and after events. In retrospect, I don't know why I didn't think of doing this long before I did think of doing it, because I've been going to events for decades, 50 years maybe. So I don't know why I didn't think of it earlier. There's no specific book or memorable experience, it's just the whole thing. The seventh prompt is Epiphany. The lights are on. What book or books have given you a proverbial light bulb over your head, something that really illuminated an idea to you? Share the book and reading experience. That book is The Life-Changing Magic of Tidying Up by Marie Kondo. Her criteria of judging whether something sparks joy or not and deciding whether you get rid of it or keep it is one that really speaks to me. The criteria I most often heard of whether or not you get rid of something is if you haven't used something for a year, then you make a decision, and I'm sure that works for many people. But for me, the idea of whether or not it sparks joy was an epiphany. A sad thing kind of related to that, though, is I found that most things don't spark joy. And I realized rather late in life that I like buying things. I like using things, say like reading a book, listening to a CD. But once I'm kind of done with them, maybe I no longer listen to a CD or I'm done with a book, just having them doesn't do that much for me. And learned that from Marie Kondo's Booktube when I applied that criteria. The eighth prompt is tag some booktubers, but anyone is welcome to do this tag. I'm actually going to tag my normal tag list, and not all are booktubers, although most are. First, I'm going to tag anyone watching this video. If you like to do this tag, one or more of the prompts in a video or in one or more of the prompts in my comments, please do so. I'm also going to tag a bunch of people in the description of this video. I want to thank Kelly for creating this tag and tagging me. I want to thank Suey for tagging me. If you can't think of anything else to comment, please add a flashlight emoji. I hope you're having a wonderful reading week. I hope you're having a wonderful week in general. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like, please subscribe, please hit the bell to get notified when I upload a future video.